Ras Babu, tell me something. The Rasta situation within Japan, how do they see the Rasta man in
Right.
Japan?
Well, actually, because Japan is a different kind of society, actually, the truth, the Rasta is highly respected. You know, because probably even myself, I probably know more people in my neighborhood than anybody else in the neighborhood. And people come up and ask advice. You know, I was in the supermarket one day and an old lady came say Rastafari. You
Okay.
know, because and there even the understanding because Japan is a country with an emperor, so they understand a
Right.
little bit more
How
how the
the
system goes.
modality of that,
Right,
yes.
and so there's a, I mean, the reggae is one of the biggest musics
In
in
Japan.
Japan, but also people know that the reggae is highly associated with the Rasta.
Okay, tell me, don't they have something like, oh, Rasta has got the drum, and the Japanese, they've got some monk type people who play
Right.
some, who play some drum like Rasta, similar to Rasta with some big drums and
Yes,
so forth.
right. The traditional drum, even like the koto drum, is very similar, like that, you know, to the Rasta drum. And even the drum beat is very similar. In fact, even some groups, when they've come there, have actually used that drum because the drum, too, is also a big symbol. That's what the monks
Yes,
use.
yes.
And in that sense, they understand the spirituality a little bit differently than in the West, you know, because of that thing. And I think people see the, now this was in Thailand. I was once in Thailand and I read, they had a headline article in Thailand. This was about 10 years ago. And the headline was, the Rastafarian movement is more than a religion.
Yes, in Thailand.
Yeah, in Thailand.
Okay.
Because even in Thailand, I've been to Thailand, if you go there, everybody, almost many of the people know the Rasta. Because even if you go little small town, people know that somehow, they don't know exactly what it is, but they know these are people trying to live differently. And that they represent peace. And they represent love and a different way of life that you don't have to take things in the same way, you know?
Okay. Now, you were there when the earthquake and the
Yes,
tsunami and so forth hit Japan.
right.
Okay? Tell me from your personal experience, what was it, the impact?
Right. Well, I was in my house. I was supposed to go out that day, but luckily I didn't because everything stopped. So I was in my house and the building started shaking. I'll tell you how it felt. Could you imagine it almost be like this building turned into paradise? That's how the house was going, just like that, back and forth, back and forth. Then we went out into the streets. When we went out into the streets, like say like right here, you couldn't even stand up. It was like clay or like quicksand, the ground, and everything, the noise, you could hear the buildings just shaking, right? And I thought to myself, say, wow, you know, it's going to end like this, right? But I said the truth, you know, in the meditation, I realized this, that if you really love life, then all you can do is life is do the things you're supposed to do. And this is beautiful, you know, because so if you know if you're enjoying the things you do, this is the life, you know. And so, and in that sense, we don't really have to worry because I realized too that things happen all the time. But I saw some amazing stuff there. I saw something come true that a old man once told me that the strongest thing in the earth was a blade of grass. And you know that's hard, but a grass, it goes this way, it goes that way, yet it remains firmly rooted. And that's how those buildings are. When they make the buildings in Japan, so they spin around when the earthquake comes. In the traditional houses in Japan, they don't use any nails whatsoever. Even those big temples, no nails.
No nails.
And also, when things hit, they get that flexibility. Because a friend of mine had an old traditional house for their parents, and that house was okay. Their new pasteboard house broke up. So that show you again, we've been learning, so it show again, it's just like with the do-re-mi scale that we learn, you put a lot of nails in, it's gonna stick. A lot of time a nail come, bust that thing up. It's not as strong as what we think. That's why, again, I think sometimes we got to go outside of the do-re-mi mentality. We got to go outside of the mentality, well, we're going to beat the man at his own game. We're going to outman the man, you know. We're going to beat the dogs with the dog's teeth, you know. So we have to begin to go back to, like you said, our roots. Go back to where love was the guiding thing. In this society, they teach us competition.
Right.
Or they say, look, what they say in the mafia movie, it's just business. But to us, it's always just love. Because you remember Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? Just a second-hand emotion. But Bob said, all we need is love. We don't need no more trouble, right?
On that, my brother, I'm going to say to you, Ras Babu, it's been a beautiful experience,
Yes, thank you, my brother.
Having you come here, because really and truly, what I've discovered also, what you're saying, is that you've gone the full 360 degrees.
Right.
And you're now here imparting your experience and your experience through the roots, through the right liberty, through the holistic way of eating and living, and come again to help the brothers and sisters to realize that Babylon system and Babylon eating and all those things is to our detriment and will lead to our death.
Right, because it's just like the body. If one thing wrong, chances are everything is wrong.
Hey,
right?
Everything is everything.
Right.
Ras Babu, give
Rastafari.
thanks
Yes,
every
brother.
time,
Good,
man.
always good
And
meeting.
this is just one chapter of this book of life that I'm sure I and I will go down many more chapters.
Yes,
because this volume is great.
Right, yes, brother.
You are
Thank
far
you.
smarter
One
than
love,
you can
Ras
ever
Babu.
imagine.
Celestia.
There is no obstacle that you cannot overcome, no problem that you cannot solve, and no goal that you cannot achieve by applying your mind to your situation.
Go on. Putting poetry in motion, I'm heading a movement. All this procrastination was getting a nuisance. I'm setting a blueprint for self-improvement. I've been hanging on a string with my life at a loose end. Now I'm only moving with a couple of good men. The fair weather finish and distinguish my true friends. I'm on the grind making a meeting at two ends. Time is of the essence, I've been writing with two pens. We formulated an infallible crew, about to rise escalating like avian flu. Observe from a bird's eye view, mile high in the metropolis, above the propaganda and politics. The running man, gotta see the corrupt of this. I'm staying on my toes, trying to preempt the apocalypse. No stopping this continuous elevation. I'm pushing the parameters of your imagination. Do it, I can do it. It ain't nothing, I'm putting my mind to it. Cause when I face defeat, I just lace the beat. There ain't nothing I can't move with music. I can do it, I can do it. It ain't nothing, I'm putting my mind to it. Cause when I face defeat, I just lace the beat. There ain't nothing I can't move.